All right, traders, you've been warned, and we are back, and we are here. Listen, the numbers are in, and the markets are sending a message. I'm going to break down exactly what happened with CPI, why interest rates could be on the chopping block, and now the battle between Trump and Powell is shaping the next big market move. This isn't just about numbers, it's about human behavior. Hear me clearly. It's not just about numbers. It's about human behavior, market psychology, and knowing when to strike. All right. So before we dive into the meat, I already know, guys, thank you for clicking on this video. All right. You're in for a good one. You're in for a good value. So if you've been getting value thus far, since you've been watching my channel, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell notification. That way you're notified when I drop valuable videos that print money. You understand? Now, this is not financial advice. I am only a coach and or mentor to some. So get educated and entertained. And if you want to join a thriving community, all right, click that link below. And also check that free video course, all right, that free mini course in the beginning of the video, and it'll show you how I turn discipline into income. All right. So listen, I want to show you some recap, and we're going to get into some things about psychology before we get into the meat of the video. All right. Of course, SPY and a couple of different stocks has been doing this thing, but as you know, I like to give receipts. All right. I warned you guys of some of these movements that we're going to see. Okay. And now I want to give you some recap for a brief moment, and we're going to check out some psychology from Mark Douglas before we get into the meat of the video. All right. Grab your notes. All right. Hope you guys are ready. Let's get into it. Live. All right, we're feeding the algorithm with this auction tension. All right, fear spikes and retail sentiment. You just you can't see you unless you've been in the game a long time. It's going to be really hard to see some of the things that I talk about unless you've been in the game for a long time. That's where the value comes from. All right, so there's $7 trillion sitting on the sidelines, cash waiting to pounce. All right, people like Tom Lee's Funstrat crowd, right? They're embarrassed. All right, they're jaded. All right, they missed the rally. So they're shorting, thinking they'll get their payday. But there's a little slight monkey wrench in the game. Here's the twist. Shorts fuel the squeeze. And these layers of auction intensity are about to explode. Today's SPY drop a couple dollars, right? Single turn coil that I call. All right, the bears got their moment. But unless there's bad correlation or hidden volume, the upside shouldn't be dead. All right, now you hear that? The upside should not be dead. Now, this video recorded 11 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and sometimes the best trades, they also come from holding and waiting and sitting on your hands, all right, for these trades to take place. Okay, now I want to play some psychology from Mark Douglas, but I want you guys to just understand something. All right, now this morning before the CPI report, I want you to remember, okay, Wall Street was betting big, right? 84.5% that we see rate cut in September. All right, that's already high. But the second the numbers hit, boom. The second the numbers hit, boom, and the odds jumped to 94.2%. Not 100%, but close enough for the market to smell blood in the water. But here's where the media plays games. And before I get into that, I just want you to understand the psychology of traders and how you should be thinking and something you might be missing. All right, here we go.
And that's why there's so many people who are so close to getting it, but never really get beyond that threshold.
That hurdle? Why can't?
Because people don't want to change the way they think. It's that simple. People don't like changing.
How can people get to the carefree state of mind that you talk about?
By changing the way that they think. They've got to eliminate the potential to think that the market's going to disappoint them. They've got to eliminate the potential to think that the market's going to disappoint them. And the way they eliminate the potential is by understanding that trading is not about being right or wrong. It's a probability game.
It's a probability game. You guys understand that? It is a probability game. Trading is not about being right or wrong. And I've been proving this week to week, month to month. All right. Remember when SPY was at 5 something and I was telling you guys to swing, and here we are now, right now at 642. All right, the market is doing its thing, creating higher highs, right, when everybody was bearish. And I was here telling you that there's a game being played and you want to be on the right side. Now, one side of the headlines are screaming hot inflation, bigger core jump in 6 months. The other side is saying CPI cooler than expected, right? But which is it? Here's the truth. Headline inflation is flat. All right, it came in at 2%, all right, 2.7%. All right, and also the core inflation is up. All right, the core inflation is up. about 2.9% to 3.1%. The market feared worse, and it didn't happen. You understand? It got caught off guard. The relief rally you saw today, that's traders breathing a sigh of relief. All right, so what do you have in this whole grand mosaic of this part two after the CPI? Right after the report, Trump jumps in, blasting Powell, saying that interest rates must come down now. And Powell's in a tough spot, all right? So the Fed job is twofold right now. It's twofold: maximum employment and stable prices. But the jobs report was disaster, and inflation didn't run as hot as feared. So Powell's argument against cutting rates right now is very weak, all right? It's a very weak argument. So I'll just be clear with you guys. I do not see why we will not cut interest rates. I don't see how Powell can deny doing that around September. You understand? So the human part about it, here's the human behavior twist, because you know that the charts that you guys see every day, all right, is human behavior. All right, this is human psychology. This chart that you see is human behavior, and it tells a story. You just have to pay attention to the story that's been told. You understand? That's why my slogan for this company is where strategy meets mindset and discipline turns into income. Excuse me. And so that's what you want to think about, because that's what it's about. It's about human behavior, and you want to learn how to capture that on a screen. The markets don't just react to data, they react to narratives, all right? So Trump versus Powell isn't just politics, it's a tug of war that traders use to frame risk. And right now, the tape says that the market wants upside. So this is where my auction my auction theory trades come in, all right? This is where the people understand, all right? Now we're going to hop over to the charts, all right? Now, you can read the chart, all right? Right now we're on a 4 hour. You can read the chart, all right? You see the high lows been made. You can read that right in front of you, all right? But you see where the bid stacks, right? The bids start stacking here. Start seeing price move a lot. It's because a lot of bids are being hit at these price points here. Same thing happened here. You got trapping in rookies trying to short a market that's bullish, all right? Fear before CPI. That was sellers overcommitting. It was overcommitting right here, okay? CPI was not bad. Excuse me, guys. So the buyers are going to reclaim control, and that's the twist. So when you add the possibility of an easier monetary policy by the Feds, the first rate cuts, and then QE, that's right, QE, quantitative easing, that's rocket fuel for asset inflation. You understand? Assets go up, all right? Stock prices increase. That's why I told you before that on dips, look for opportunity. Discipline turns into income when you read the human side of the market. All right. In my last video, I told you to watch these exact levels that are falling. Okay. If you go to the 1 hour, you can see them even more clearly. I told you to watch out for these exact levels. Did you do that? I don't know. The folks that are a part of my Discord, some of the folks, they made some money from the call outs. And so I want to say kudos to you guys. And I will be doing a video dedicated to you guys and the progress that we have been making. All right. So stay tuned for that. And also stay tuned for the small account challenge that I started a couple weeks ago, taking $100 into $1,000, right? The great flip experiment. All right. So don't forget that. Right. So like I was saying, I told you to watch these exact levels. All right. That have played out on SPY. All right, these levels of bounce, these high lows, I informed you to watch for the drops to these levels. All right, but fear without confirmation is a gift to the prepared trader. Let me say that again. Fear without confirmation is a gift to the prepared trader. Today we got that gift, but here's the warning. These moves don't go straight up. The market will shake out the weekends. You see the drops, right? So if September delivers cuts, expect momentum. If not, that's just set up for a bigger move later. You understand? So in closing, I want you guys to know my guidance is to keep your eyes on the Fed meetings. August 20th, we have more data coming out. All right. We have the Fed minutes coming out. So you want to watch the CME Fed Watch 2. All right. You want to watch the CME Fed Watch 2. That's a website that you can visit. www.fedwatch2.com, or you can Google FedWatch2 and you can find that website there, right? And remember, every headline has a counter headline. Your job is to trade what's real, not what's loud. All right. If you get value from this video, right? If you've seen some value, if it makes sense, do me a favor, hit the like button. It pushes the video to those who need videos just like this. And again, consider subscribing to a channel that brings you value. And stay ready and stay prepared, because the next setup is already building, and I want you guys to be prepared for it. You understand? The next targets on SPY are going to be 650 and 660. All right, we have some economic data tomorrow and the rest of this week, but I think that the bigger news is kind of way behind us right now. We already got the CPI and the market brushed that off. All right, tomorrow being Wednesday, okay, we do have some unemployment news coming out. All right, got some Fed members speaking, causing volatility. Thursday, some unemployment claims, and also we have Friday with the core retail sales, which I think is just fuel for the market to do exactly what it wants to do. You understand? And so we are going to be prepared. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you enjoyed it, again, consider sharing it with any friends or family. And if you're a trader, whether a beginner, new, or immediate, always remember to define your entry, your exit, and your risk before every trade. All right, trading is about the process and not the profits. If you focus in on the process, the profits will come to you. All right, stay in the game. All right, don't chase and don't try to get rich quick. All right, think about the small compound effects that happen over time. All right, hope you guys stay blessed out there. All right, until the next time, stay safe. All right, peace.